Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about rent. Rent is rising at record rates. This year has been absolutely crazy for a lot of people. And you've had some areas, particularly one area in London, where rent went up 30% in a year, which is absolutely crazy. So this video, I'm going to break down the expectations on rent for the next few years. It's expected to be double-digit growth, which is good for landlord, not so good for tenants. I'm going to tell you why this is happening and why, if you're a tenant, it's important to understand that maybe all this anti-landlord legislation is not necessarily a good thing. If you're new around here and you haven't done already, do subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We've got new property content every single day on the channel. We're a smidge away from 33,000 subscribers. You can see how close we are around this video somewhere. And let's get some more views on this particular video by smashing like, tickling like, doing something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm and that helps the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So, what's going on? Well, rents, unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that rents have been going up at an alarming rate over the last few years. I want to give you a quick idea on how much. So in 2023, rents went up around about with inflation. So we were at the high inflation at that amount there, and it was at 6.2%. Not great, especially if you're a tenant. Now, 2024, we've had even worse, and I'll explain why. So the 2024 average rental increase was 8.7%, a huge jump. Now that was worse because inflation had dropped significantly. So this was above inflation, these increases, and people weren't getting pay rises to actually make that affordable. And so it's been a real hit to a lot of people. Now, a lot of this has happened because costs for landlords have increased considerably over the last few years. They've got something called Section 24, which penalises a landlord and taxes them on the gross rent. Most businesses, you don't get taxed on your gross income. You get taxed after you've deducted your expenses. Landlords, they decided to change that and mean that you will get taxed on the gross rental income. You can have a few deductions, but hardly any at all. So that meant landlord costs went up. Then we had, obviously, all this inflation, which increased interest rates, and landlords will be paying interest only on their mortgages. So if they went from a 2% mortgage to a 6% mortgage, which lots of people did, that meant their payments tripled. Now, that could mean that they were losing money every single month that payments were made. And in order to subsidise that, they had to increase rents. That was very, very important as well. You've also got a squeeze on landlords to leave the market. So we've talked this week, we've had a video which has got 20,000 views where we've talked about energy performance certificates. They are looking like they are going to be really strengthened and more difficult, and it's only going to be on the rental sector. You're going to have to get it to a level C or spend £10,000 per property in order to get there. You also might have to renew your EPC on an annual basis. These are costs as well that mean some landlords have just said, you know what, I'm leaving the market. So the rental market has shrunk by 16% currently. So the stock is down 16%. But there are lots of landlords still leaving that have transactions going through, or they're considering leaving and they've got properties on the market. They just haven't got an offer for that at the moment. So you've reduced the amount of rental properties by 16%. The population has grown by more than 1 million. We've had 700,000 immigrants in a year and we're living longer. And so rental demand is going up, but we've got less properties. What that's meant is rents have been pushed really, really high, significantly high. In fact, in some areas, they're getting pretty much to the ceiling. People will struggle to pay any more rent. Now, what you could look at in that scenario is putting a rent cap on. That's just happened in Scotland, and rents prior to this, they went up by 20% in like a 2-year period. Previously, that took 13 years to go up by 20%. So it's been a massive increase in costs on tenants up there. You also shrunk the Scottish property market as well, and that meant that some properties would have as many as 200 applicants. So while the rent might be a little bit cheaper to start with, you try and get that property and get yourself in front of that landlord, it's very, very difficult. So Savills are saying that they expect rents to go up in 2025 by not as much, but still higher than inflation, 4%. So it's more of a squeeze on tenants. And that's the average. That's going to be all across the UK. The average rent is going to be going up. Now in London, people's take-home pay, 43% of it now goes on their rent. 43%. That's a huge amount. It doesn't give people really any disposable income at all. It's really, really going to hit them very, very hard. Now, what we're looking at as well is by 2029, in total, a 20% increase on where rents are today. Now, that is a slowdown. It's not giving you 8.7. It is a slowdown in the increases because affordability is a factor, right? But if you're a landlord and you've got a property and your costs have gone up from higher interest rates, EPCs, tax, stamp duty, all of these things, then those costs ultimately get passed on to tenants, and that will keep increasing these rents at an alarming rate. And anytime it's faster than inflation, it means people are getting poorer. Now, the only solution that you've really got for this is to build more properties. Labour have said they're going to build 1.5 million properties in the UK. And already a few months into their term, they said that's not going to happen. It's very unlikely that we will hit that target. And also, you don't really have incentives for building firms to do that because costs are very high. Mortgages are still very high. So there isn't buyers on the back end. If you're a developer, you want someone to be able to buy the property on that back end. You're not going to take a risk. And the property market is going to slow down in 2025. You've got stamp duty increasing. That's particularly going to hit first-time buyers. And they are people that buy a lot of these new flats and condominiums and properties like that. Those are the people that you're targeting, but you're massively increasing the stamp duty cost for them. And mortgages aren't coming down as quickly as what we'd hoped and expected. So this is a crisis. It is something that we need to keep an eye on. If you're a landlord, yes, potentially you're going to get a better return on your investment. So it is something that is good for landlords, and hopefully will keep some of them in the game, because if more leave, this will get worse and worse and worse. Let me know your thoughts on this. 6% 2023, 8% in 2024, 4% expected next year, and 20% by 2029. These are not insignificant cost increases. Do put your comments and inputs below on all the videos. Give us a quick like on this video and go and check out all the other content on my channel, including this video right here.